Okay, so we're still in 1984. Some exciting events take place in 1984. And I say that, well, the family reunion was in August of 1984, but that's not true because I had forgotten that the Olympics came to Los Angeles, California in 1984, and we were already back from the family reunion because we went up there for a few days, 3 or 4. I think it was 3. And came back, and I went to work back at the coffee shop. Funny thing about that family reunion is that somehow Tony's grandmother, Clara, had found out that I got into trouble at the family reunion. And she's like, can't you go anywhere without getting in trouble? You just met that family and now they don't like you. Well, that wasn't true. They did like me. Some of them loved me. And I didn't exactly get in trouble, but I'll get to that. Anyway, so I really believe that, I don't know when it was. I'll honestly admit, I don't know. I don't remember. I kept trying to remember when stuff was, and I know it wasn't in August. That I know for a fact now. But I thought originally it was in August because pictures of a car that I bought with the insurance money we got from the accident from March is September of 1984, but that could be just because that's when Tony and I had the pictures developed. And why do I keep doing these videos when I'm almost off work? Seriously? So this one isn't going to be long because I'm not going to get to the family reunion yet. I'm going to get to the precursor of the family reunion because I'm going to take me time on that one. And how I met everybody, and some things that were said, and some vows that were made, and all that kind of good stuff. But before the family reunion, I want to. Tony and I went to. I have to do with this military ball thing. I wonder when the military ball was. Tony, do you remember? It was in 1984, but I think it was after the school year started because we went and the accident had already happened and friends of ours were getting married. Lori and David Ives, they got married October 4th of 1984. And I'll stop on that one right there until I get to October. Because I made an announcement in October of 1984, October 6th. Anyway, so the precursor to the family reunion is this, and it might have been later June. It could have been middle of July. It could have really been June, actually, because I think school just got out and people were coming. Anyway, so my future father-in-law, who I wasn't sure who was going to be my father-in-law. And I didn't see any pictures of anybody, I don't believe. Tony might have showed me pictures of certain family. I don't remember. I don't think so, because when we got to the family reunion and relatives that became my relatives that I loved, were walking towards the car when we pulled up to the property. I'm like, who is that? Well, that's Dad. Well, I knew Dad. And that's Aunt Marie and Uncle Tom. The first ones that I met, besides Dad. Anyway, the day before the family reunion, Tony's dad came from Oklahoma. His wife and Dee's daughter, Nancy. Her husband and son, and I don't remember who else. Oh yeah, April, Dee's other daughter, who was young, a teenager at the time. I don't remember how old anybody was, but which doesn't matter because it's not important. And so I met them, and so we go to someone's apartment. I think it was Tony's apartment, not my Tony, but Tony on Dee's side, her son, Tony. She had a son named Tony too. Neck hurts. My neck always normally hurts, but I don't want to take pills all the time to make it not hurt and for it not to be stiff, because that would just be a drag. And that's not good for you anyway. So, anyway, I don't even know where this is at. Maybe Riverside? Tony would probably remember that. I don't. Like I said, wasn't really important to me. What was important to me is meeting Dad. And so we knock on the, no, we didn't even knock on the door. The door was open, and Ollie was laying on the love seat. But before we got there, I had asked Tony, what do I call him? What do I call your dad? He says, Dad. And I said, what if he doesn't like that? I go, what if he gets mad? I go, this is the first impression. Because I had already met everybody on Rose's side of the family already, except those that were in New York. And the friends of the families and stuff like that. I already met everybody. And now I'm meeting the Waltmans for the first time. And I wanted to make a good impression because it's simple like this. Rose and Nana and them really didn't care too much for me. They say, oh yeah, we never hated you. Bullshit. Okay? Yeah, and I'm looking up at the sky. I'm waiting for a hand to come down from heaven. And it be Aunt Marie. So, sorry. Anyway. So, what do I call him? Call him Dad. Well, what if he doesn't like that? I said, or should I call him Mr. Waltman? Should I call him Ollie? Which I laughed at his name because I was thinking Laurel and Hardy. And I laughed. He kind of looked like a Ollie, actually, because he had a mustache. It was just big and full. Then Ollie on Laurel and Hardy. So Ollie was laying on the love seat, and he had a pillow, not a pillow, excuse me. He had a newspaper covering his face like this, and it was kind of like halfway down to his chest, and he was snoring. And they go in, see what he does. And Tony kept edging me, and I was like, before that, I'm like going, should I really call him Dad? Yeah, see what he does. Hey, whatever, I was game. I thought the worst he would do is just hit me, or tell me not to call him that. But anyway, I sneak up on him, and everybody's at the door, just waiting, and the front door, because it was open, and everybody's like, shh, shh. I walked in, he's snoring. I don't want to wake him up. He might get mad. No, wake him up. He's been sleeping long enough. I'm like, okay. So I go up to the love seat. Like I said, he's snoring, the newspaper's on his face, and I go like this, and I tap on the newspaper like that, and I'm like, Dad. They say louder. Dad. Tap it again. Dad. And he jumps, and he wakes up, and the newspaper comes up, and he goes to sit up, and he's sleepy-ish. Because he was in a sound sleep. The man was snoring, okay? Like a grizzly bear. And he looks to the door and he sees Tony and whoever's standing there by the front door, and they're just kind of like laughing, and Tony's like going, hi, Dad. And he turns and he looked at me. He didn't actually, at first glance, had no idea who I was. He thought I was one of his daughters. And, like stepdaughters, but everybody was a daughter to him. And, so he looked at me, and he goes like this with his arm to me. And I go to sit down, and he looked at Tony, and then he looked at me. Ollie already knew Tony had a girlfriend, so he started waking up and putting two to two together. And he looked at me all serious. He didn't even grin or smile, but he had his left arm already around my back like that, because I sat towards the side. And I looked at him, I said, hi, Dad, I'm your daughter, Teresa. And he looked at me, and he looked at Tony, and he looked back at me, and he goes, my daughter, Teresa. And I said, yes. And I said, surprise. And he goes, when did you get married? And I was like, we're not married. And he's like looking like, oh. Okay, gave me a hug right then and there. And so anyway, he got up, hugged Tony and whoever. We talked for a few minutes, and we ended up spending the day with him. And got to know he got to know me a little bit. And when he gave me a hug, I gave him a big, huge hug. I was in love with him already. And he's like, you're a good hugger. And he looked at Tony and he goes, she's a keeper. And I'm like, well, I hope so. And so when we went out with him, it was just us. We had alone time with him for a couple of hours. And I'm pretty sure we went out to eat. Because one thing about the Waltmans, besides being a hugger, they like to eat. Okay? All of them like to eat. So 2 criteria of being a Waltman. Number 1, you have to be a hugger. You have to give big, gigantic teddy bear hugs. Okay? I was in on that one. Number 2, you have to be a eater. Well, I was skinny and I wasn't really that much of an eater, but I could eat. And so, like I said, Ollie got to know me a little bit. He didn't really ask me a lot of questions. I just was kind of like saying, well, yeah, this is how we met. I was a customer at Denny's for Tony when I was 16. So we've actually known each other since I was 16. I just turned 18 in March. No, I just turned 19, excuse me. I just turned 19 in March. I forgot it was 84 now. And, like I said, he knew of me. Because I did talk to him a couple of times on the phone before I actually met him. So I just kind of like gave him heads up, and then I was asking him questions about, him being in Oklahoma. They had a donut store business called Sunshine Donuts. We never went because they came out a couple of years later and came to live out to California. They left Oklahoma. And I'm glad they did, because I got to know my father-in-law. I just didn't know he was going to be my father-in-law then. And although I said a year before that I was going to marry Tony, I was just waiting to see if it was true or not. A year has already passed, and I'm like thinking, come on already, I'm 19, I've already met the future mother-in-law side of the family and friends and family friends. And family friends that were hers and Ollie's when they were married. Now I'm meeting the future father-in-law, and I'm about to meet the whole entire Waltman family on that side. And when I say entire Waltman family, it was pretty much the entire Waltman family immediate side, and there was a bunch of them. Because when we got to the property, before we went to the campground, I believe, there was this big picture that was taken. And it was being put in the newspaper. I saw that picture once after it was taken, and I don't remember ever seeing it again. I think it would be pretty cool. So they were taking the picture. My future aunt, Mama, said, Teresa, go stand over there by Tony. I'm like, what? I'm not even we're Aunt Marie. We're not even engaged. We're just boyfriend and girlfriend. She goes, I already told you that you're going to marry Tony, and you're already my niece. Go stand over there by Tony. I'm like, go, she says. And go and stand by Tony. So I'm in the picture, and my name's listed in the newspaper along with everybody else's as a granddaughter. So how cool was that, right? And then I get back to, civilization and out in Southern California, and his grandmother out here says, yeah, you caused a bunch of trouble when you were up there.